On today's episode, we are introducing our one and only Christal P, the Beauty MP. We're really diving into balancing family, being a mompreneur, and also being a nurse. Christal really shares her journey and some of her challenges with figuring out how to balance it all, or even if that's something that's even possible. Let's go ahead and explore that on this episode. Hey, welcome to the Nurse Boss Shift. It's your girl, Dr. Kiiyonna Jones, and today is a special day because I get to interview the lovely, the talented, the amazing mom, nurse-preneur,
yes,
Christal Parker.
Hello.
So, Christal, I'm excited because today we are going to discuss your journey, but we're putting a spin on it that a lot of people may use as a reason not to start into entrepreneurship, which actually you use that as fuel to really push yourself into entrepreneurship as a nurse.
Yes.
And that is family.
Yes.
Christal is a nurse practitioner. She is a mother of 2 under 2. She actually got the bug, made the shift while she was pregnant. Christal, with your first baby?
Yep.
Pregnant with her first baby, and it has been go mode ever since. So hello, Christal. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we're going to dive into this because what we find is that a lot of nurses are saying things like, I'm going to wait until my baby, goes off to college and then I can start, living life the way I want to. And then I'll, be able to, start that business or take some time and invest in me. And you didn't do that. So what we're going to talk about, or one of the topics I want to talk to you about, is how to kind of balance, or if there even is a such thing as balance between, family, entrepreneurship, work, kids, keeping your glow, all that stuff. And then I want to talk to you about like the feelings of being a mom and also having the obligations to fulfill as an entrepreneur. And we will also discuss your motivation.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and start with the balance thing. Like, is it really a balance? I mean, I know I'm an entrepreneur, but you got 2 under 2 and you're married. So is there a such thing as balance? Because you still have a per diem job. You're an entrepreneur, and then you have your home life. So how does that work?
Well, first I had to learn very quickly that there is no such thing as balance. A friend once told me, who is the same. She had 2 kids and she's an entrepreneur. And she told me, when my home life is good, then my business suffers. And when my business life is good, then my home life suffers. And that has always stuck with me because I find that to be true in my life. There's never a such thing as balance. And how I learned to balance it all, because I didn't just end up here. It took a lot of work, but was really through therapy. My first business dealt around self-care and really promoting self-care with nurses. So I knew that I had to practice what I preached, and I always preached like having a therapist and finding someone to talk to. So after my first baby, COVID hit 3 months after. So right when I felt like I can get out and enjoy my maternity leave, we were stuck in the house. And then shortly after COVID hit, that summer was the whole George Floyd incident. And I just felt like I was really struggling. So I'm like, let me find a therapist to talk to. Not that I felt and I always say quote unquote, like I had real problems. Like I didn't have, a traumatic experience to talk about, but I just felt like I needed to just let me try out talking to a therapist. So I found that a lot
Mhm.
of stuff we talked about was the, what do they call it? The like superhero complex. Is that what it's called? Superwoman complex,
Mm.
trying to balance
Mhm.
everything. And a lot had to do because I got married and had kids all within like 2 years. So it was a big shift for me. Before I was single, I was a nurse, I had my own house, I
Mm.
was doing my thing, and
Mhm.
quickly went into married life and having kids. And my therapist really helped me realize that I was holding myself accountable to the single me, and I could no longer do that.
Mm.
So once we worked through that, that was like a big mindset shift for me,
Mm.
because I was still getting upset that I had all these million things that I wanted to do, but my house wasn't spick and span anymore. There was stuff all over the place. I couldn't cook dinner like I wanted. And she was just like, you know what? You are holding yourself accountable to the old you who had and then I was like, I can't find time to work on my business. She's like, well, you don't have all the time in the world like you used to. You can't expect your house to be
Mhm.
clean. You don't have to cook dinner every day. And once I felt that relief, it was just life changing, really. So I have come to notice, or I have come to know, that there is no such thing as balance. And I'm much better about it now. If the kitchen isn't clean, I don't stress over it anymore like I used to. If stuff doesn't get done, I don't trip about it. Sometimes I get in my modes where it comes back and I have to remind myself. But once you
Mhm.
let go of what you think it should be. I'm a wife. I should be doing laundry and cleaning and cooking and all the traditional roles.
Mm.
Once you let go of that, especially if you have other things going on, like trying to build a business and trying to do things for yourself, once you
Mhm.
let that go and realize that everything won't be balanced, then it's like a new life. So, yes,
Yeah.
there is no such thing as balance.
Yeah. And right, right. There's no such thing as balance. But did you decide, okay, so you were married and then you started your family and then you started your business, or what do you remember what made you what how what made you decide to take on something else to add to your plate when you had just made a new plate?
Yeah, well, that is me. What does my friend say? Enough is never enough for me. I always have to have, and I think that stems from my mom. She's a nurse too, and she just always had something going on. But no, I
Mhm.
actually started my first business. Kind of came out of, um, when I was burnt out at bedside. I had just got married. I had a month off for my honeymoon, and I had time to actually sit and think and reflect what I wanted out of life. So I started my first business, which was a products business. And then COVID hit. So it wasn't really, I couldn't really do what I wanted to do with that business. I wanted to go out to nursing conventions and be out meeting people and talking to people. And then with COVID, it shifted to me having to be more social and online and do lives and kind of promote my brand that way.
Mhm.
And I was still I
Mhm.
was very in the infancy phase of my business. So I was dealing with a lot of imposter syndrome, a lot of what are people going to think, a lot of, um, just thinking of how people would judge me. If my hair's not done, I just had a baby, so I'm not the weight I want to be. And
Mhm.
just dealing with all that
Mhm.
was my first business, which I won't ever say
Mhm.
was a loss. I definitely learned a lot of lessons out of there. But when I got pregnant, when I was getting ready to have my first baby, I graduated from NP school 1 month before she was born. And then 1 month after she was born, I started my IV hydration business, which was just before the pandemic hit. So I knew I wanted to start
Mhm.
that business, and yeah, it was just at that point, and especially with COVID happening, that made me know even more that I had to get away from bedside, because I was
Mhm.
so scared to go back to work, especially having almost 8 months off with my baby, and then having to go into a hospital with COVID, where I was so scared that I was going to catch it and bring it home to her. And I remember crying after
Mhm.
my first couple shifts because, I used to kiss all on her, and I'm like, no, I can't kiss on her because I'm going to give her COVID. So that pushed me even further into entrepreneurship, knowing that I did not want to be. And then
Mhm.
the idea, I finally got it hearing moms say they barely see their kids when they go to work. So when I leave for work, she sleep. And then
Mhm.
literally I had her sleep trained.
Mm.
So she went to bed at 8. So
Mhm.
I get home at 7:30, and by 8 o'clock, she was already going to sleep. And that just broke my heart after
Mm.
spending the first 8 months with her
Mhm.
every day. So that actually pushed me more into knowing that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, because I knew that I wanted to be able to spend more time with my family and with my child at the time.
Mhm. Mhm. And so you dive into entrepreneurship and you get pregnant again.
Yes, I got pregnant again 9 months
How
later.
soon after?
Oh my
How soon
god.
after?
9, I think it was like 9.5 months I got pregnant again. And I always
Okay.
say that I kept having to have babies to keep me out of the COVID streets, because I learned about that light duty. If none of y'all nurses know, I was working in the ER. So as the second I became pregnant, I asked for light duty and I got up out of there. So
Mhm.
I kind of escaped a lot of COVID. I still dealt with it, but because I went back to work, I stretched my maternity leave to 8 months. And then I literally worked for
Mhm.
3 months and got pregnant again and went on light duty. So yeah, I did get
Mm.
pregnant right
Yeah.
after and had a second baby.
Right, right. So, okay, so now, okay, fine. We've already explored, with your first baby, then you have your second one. But a lot of times people don't really realize, and I know I definitely didn't. So we go into entrepreneurship. We do want that freedom. We want that time freedom. We want the time with our families, with our kids. But people don't talk about the building phase.
Mhm.
So now you're like, okay, baby sleep at 8, I get home at 7:30, and then, but you still had some days off, but now you go from working 312s to like all the time, right?
Mhm.
And now you have to be in rooms, you're networking, you're doing all that. So
Yeah.
how did the feeling of adequacy as a mom, and how did
Mm.
you deal with that? Because I know that's something that it's not a nurse thing, right? It's just
Yeah.
a woman thing, right? And
Yeah.
especially women entrepreneurs. So, did you ever have those feelings? And if you did, how did you deal with them, or how do you deal with them?
Yeah. So baby number one was much easier because it was just her. Um, Especially maternity leave, I was able to get so much done and the ideas were flowing and I was able to do a lot. But when the second baby comes, it's like when baby number two is asleep, baby number one wakes up. So it was a lot harder
Mhm.
to do that. But I will say I did have a village. My husband helped tremendously. He's always been supportive of my goals and let me kind of do my thing. And then my mom
Yeah.
also, my parents have been very supportive too. And really, my mom pushed me because I definitely had those, ideas of of leaving them and feeling like, even my husband taking more of like the parental role at those times when I had to go and network. And, he would
Mhm.
say little
Mhm.
things like, well, I know what she wants. And I'd be like, well, you know what you want because you take care of her more, and then I started like, what are you talking about? But then I started projecting that because then I started feeling
Yep.
like, well, he's with her more and I don't even know my kid.
Mm.
But, just having same thing, support in a village to be able to talk you through that.
Yeah.
Reminding me that they're small now, what my end goal is. My end goal is for when they get older that I can be there with them and have these experiences with them. So that really helped me get through. But I definitely had the mom guilt, leaving them for the first time. I think I left them the first time with you to go to an event that we went, a networking event that we went to in Dallas. So you know,
Mhm.
the first time was really hard, but then each time got easier
Mhm.
after that. But I definitely try to just make sure that I have quality time with them when I'm with them, and then now just trying to structure my schedule more to where I have dedicated work hours, and then when I'm home with them, you know, at least until they go to bed. And then I can do, you know, whatever it is I need
Mhm.
to do. But just kind of adapting my schedule. And then I've realized more recently that I need more structure, same as like reminding myself I'm not the old single me. I need, you know, they have to get bathed by this time, because having structure allows me to get all the things done that I need to do versus just kind of flying by the seat of my
Mm.
pants and letting the day, because a lot of times I would let the day take over me versus me taking over my day. So I've been learning recently to kind of structure my time. But I think those are things you learn and grow as being a mom and an entrepreneur, just trying to get everything done that you need to get done in a day.
So looking back, was there, is and if there are women who, which there are women nurses, especially who are listening, who are moms and thinking about it, what's something that they could do that will help or could support them and not feeling like, they have to be the end all and everything and they can't even
Mhm.
go and pursue their dreams because they have to first, you know, let the kids graduate college or high school or whatever. What advice would you give to them, especially from a mom having, young babies right now?
um, I would say just remembering the self care piece, and that you can't um, pour into your kids and you can't give them your best if you aren't satisfied yourself. So if you're at a job where
Mhm.
you hate and you're angry every time you come home, um, then that's not what you want to give your kids either. That's not a life that you want from them. But if you do things to make yourself happy and sacrificing a little bit, because there is that building stage before you know, the payoff comes. So just spending that small
Mhm.
time, which is such a small fraction when you think of it in the larger scheme of things, just spending that little bit
Mhm.
of time to help build and really invest into what will make you happy. What will make you happy, what will
Mhm.
ultimately make you a better parent. I strongly believe
Mhm.
that, because when parents are stressed out, that's when, you know, they're yelling at their kids and they're angry, and no kid wants to deal with that. And it's not
Mhm.
the kid's fault that you are not taking the time to
Mhm.
invest in yourself and do things you need to do to make you happy, and then you're just um you know, putting that off on your kids. So I think that anyone who's waiting for the right time till their kids graduate, your kids need to see you being happy now. Because when they go off to college, they're going to be living their
Mhm.
own life, and then they're going to remember mom who was always unhappy and, you know, coming home and
Yeah.
hated her, hated their job or whatever they were doing. So I think it's important that moms really need to invest in self care and doing stuff for themselves, and really, really digging deep to see what life would make you happy. Because my husband knows if I'm
Mhm.
um you know, and I had told him, like, I have to leave this ER. It is making me crazy. So if I have to go per diem, if I have to take a PM shift, like, that's what I'm going to have to do, because trust me, you want me to be happy so that I can make you happy. So I think that's important to remember, that we have to be happy first in order to make others happy.
Yeah. And that is really so true. And I think it's so funny because it's not just being that we are dominated, this profession is dominated by women. So it's not just expected of us as our role as women and moms, but it's also expected for us as nurses too, to
Yeah.
always be so selfless and like never take the time to do some of the things that make us happy. And I always
Hmm.
tell people it really is about quality, not quantity. If
Yeah.
you are, yeah, you're home and but you're checked out and are
Hmm.
you tired? Like, we know
Yeah.
that 3 days, it takes two to recover, and you're
Exactly.
tired. Is that really serving your
No.
family? You know what I'm saying? Versus spending that time doing the things that you need to do so that you're taking the steps to build yourself and your business, and then having those times where, like you said, it's really dedicated to like quality time. Then you're
Mhm.
focused, you're present. It's just different, you know? So
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. And I think it's so important. All right. So let me ask you this.
Okay.
I remember 2 years ago when I met you, you were pregnant with your first baby. And you really haven't stopped at all. Like you've been just crushing it. And we're seeing the results of that because you haven't stopped. What is your motivation? Like, what? Because you were in the ED for what, 8 years before you started your journey, 7 years before you started.
I
So,
was in
what
the ED,
motivates
yeah.
you at this point? Yeah.
Um, I guess it's just the freedom now, and really seeing the exchange of time for money. Um, my mom was a hustler. She was a nurse. I mean, and it just goes to show like it's not the same as it was before. She could do like 5 12s with no problem, wake up the next day, take us somewhere. I'm not built like that. I work 3 days. I am on that couch for two. So I knew that I could not sustain that. And then I guess just seeing, like we always talk about, seeing people who don't even have the knowledge we have, just use their gifts, use the knowledge that they do have and use their gifts to make money in other ways. And just the freedom that I get. And then my ultimate why that I think about it now, because yes, the money, yes, the freedom, but really it's for my dad, and he was an entrepreneur. So now my why is, who he has passed away. So now my why is, continuously continuing to make him happy. I know my mom always tells me he had millions of ideas and was always talking about his next idea, his next business. He was a dentist, but when we cleaned out his house, he had jewelry making stuff. He collected coins. He was with ACN, which was a networking thing. He had so many investments and different ventures that he has. So I just have that fire in me. It comes from him, just to keep going.
Yeah.
And I am, as you always say, I'm married to the end goal, which is helping people. My passion now with coaching is just helping nurses to see the mindset shift that I had into being in this
Mhm.
entrepreneurial space. And just seeing that I could get a big bag and then coast. Like, I love that. And not having to
I
work
know, right?
and not having to work all those overtime shifts, because I am just not built that way, especially in the ER, especially in today's, how nursing is today. Because I always ask people I work with, like, how did you do ER for 25, 30 years? And they're just like, baby, it's not the same ER as it used to be. So I know things are
Mhm.
different. And yeah, that's what keeps my fire going, is just to getting to the end goal that I see. I always envisioned when I was younger that I would be successful and not have to worry about money. So I'm just working so I can continue that goal, and to see me and my kids on vacation, and to just not have to worry, not have to stress, and not have to
Yeah.
break my back working.
So what I'm getting from this is not only is it not a reason not to start having a family,
Mm-hmm.
it's actually the opposite. It should give
Yeah.
you more motivation to start because you have a family. Is that
Yeah, and yeah,
pretty accurate?
absolutely. And you just have to get rid of, I mean, if you're anything like me, when I first got when I first got married, I don't even know, I probably was pregnant as well. I used to work 12-hour shifts, get off at 7:30, go to the store, get groceries, come home and make dinner. Why was I doing that? I don't know why, but I guess it was something inside. And I remember my mom used to always say that my grandma, who had 11 kids, would say, when you're tired, rest. Don't push yourself too much. But then she was still that ultimate housewife. Like, my mom was like that too, cooked dinner, cleaned. But I was not trying to be like that. So I had to let go of those things. So if you're a mom who thinks you don't have time, and another coach of mine, I'm not a paid coach yet, or paid coach yet, but Rachel Rogers always says, and I'm learning now, is we have to buy back our time with our money. So if that is getting a sitter for, because my kids just went to daycare recently. Luckily, my husband was able to stay home with them for my oldest for 2 years. So, but now going to daycare, that's such a relief. It relieves so much time that I'm able to spend into my business. So I would urge you, mothers, if you are thinking about entrepreneurship and you don't think you have time, look and see what you can outsource, pay someone. I told Kiiyonna the other day, I'm getting ready to have someone like do my laundry because I just spent 40 minutes folding clothes, and I don't have 40 minutes to fold clothes when I have business to be doing. So outsourcing those things, it's okay. I have a cleaning lady that comes in every 2 weeks. Whatever you have to do, an extra sitter to watch your kids, even if you're at home for a few hours to work on your business, just do what you have to do, and don't stress yourself out thinking that you have to do and be everything.
Yes. Oh, and on that note, listen, that was a whole word.
Yeah.
And the takeaway is Christal just gave you permission. Like, let go of those societal norms that they have placed on us.
Yes.
Guys, times are just different. And, I couldn't have said it any better, Christal. So we are going to conclude with this episode. Christal, where are you? Where can people find you? Where you hang out socially? And I'm talking about social media, of course.
Yes. Socially, you can find me at the Bedside Rescuer on Instagram. I am rescuing nurses from the bedside, and also YouTube. I have a lot of content and videos on YouTube, and on YouTube, I am Christal P, the Beauty NP. On YouTube, but I have a lot of videos about entrepreneurship and just my journey. Kiiyonna and I have a coaching program where we coach nurses who want to start IV hydration businesses. So I coach on that. And then I also coach nurses who are in that infancy stage, thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, but just don't know how to start, where to start, what business you'd be good at. I coach nurses on that because I feel that it was so important for me when I found my tribe and community of nurse entrepreneurs. It just blew my mind, and it just that was when I was able to get the courage to know that if others could do it, then I could do it too. So that's where you can find me.
Yeah. Yes. Hey, nurse besties, listen, I know you guys enjoyed this episode. So if you have other nurse aspiring current bosses who don't yet know about the nurse boss shift, make sure you let them know. We're not playing here. We are really showing up, and we are providing you guys with some value and also giving you guys permission to make the shift. Until next time, you guys, take care.
Bye.